Welcome to Jeanette Talks a Lot. Grab your favorite drink and let's talk about all things stories. What are you drinking today? This is Breakfast Blend by Starbucks. It's a medium roast and I really like it. All right, so let's get into it today. It's a Netflix movie from 2018 and it's called The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. The screenwriters, which are the writers for this film, they are Don Roos, Kevin Hood, and Thomas Bazooka. Also an adaptation from a 2008 novel by Marianne Schaefer and Annie Barrows. So they wrote the book and then these screenwriters adapted it for the screen, for the film. Now, this genre is a drama, romance, also mystery. Now, the director is Mike Newell. So we have executive producers, and co-producers all connected in this list. So there's 11 producers, so it's quite a few. Okay, let's get into the lead actors. Now, the main lead actor, and if you've seen this before, again, the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society has been out since 2018. Lily James is the lead actress, and she plays Juliet. Michiel Hausman plays Dossie. Jessica Brown Findley plays Elizabeth. Tom Courtney plays Eben. Catherine Parkinson plays Isola. Matthew Good plays Sydney. Penelope Wilton plays Amelia. And Kit Connor plays Eli, who is Eben's grandson. So the main summary of this film is that, and we'll go by imdb.com's explanation, in the aftermath of World War II, a writer forms an unexpected bond with the residents of Guernsey Island when she decides to write a book about their experiences during the war. Then she learns the secret they are afraid to reveal. Okay, so at the very beginning, and I'm not going to go into every single detail because this is a mystery, so I don't want to give anything away. But I do want to set it up by letting you know that it is a period piece. It is set in 1941, and then at the very beginning, it starts at 1941. And that's where you see this group of people, and they're going through the town kind of loud in the middle of the night. So some German guards, they are German military occupation of England at this point. And so they come and they stop this group and they say, "Where are you going? You know, you're past curfew. You're not supposed to be out here." And the group all of a sudden comes up with, "Oh, we're a book club," so they don't get in trouble. And then little by little, they each kind of add in a little piece. So one says, "We're the Guernsey Literary," and someone else adds potato peel pie. And then someone else says society. So that's how they got their name for their group. And the guards, they're upset, but there's a situation and they end up saying, "Okay, we'll just add you to the list. So now you're an official group." Okay, so they start that off, and that's 1941. Then the opening credits happen, and then you see Juliet Ashton, who is in London, and she is a writer, and she has her publisher with her. His name is Sydney, and they're on a train. Now, this is London, 1946, so 5 years later. She has a situation. You see that she has her life. She has a boyfriend. Then you see that she has a flashback that just a few years ago, her house was almost completely destroyed. Her parents are now gone, and she is an orphan. There's no sign. They don't mention any siblings, so it sounds like she might be a single, child or an only child. And so basically you can tell that that's put a lot of, hard trauma in her life. And so, but like I said, you're seeing her life. She's an author. She's doing really well in that way. All of a sudden, she gets this letter from a guy on Guernsey Island, and he says he has a book club, and they're called the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. And he found a book with her address in it. And so he thought, maybe you could help me get a hold of this one bookstore or a place that I could get some more books. And so she writes him back, and they end up writing a few letters to each other, and she helps him get the book he needed. And she ends up saying, "You know what? Why don't I just go meet this group, this book club?" And she ends up getting on a boat. But right before she gets on the boat, her fiance, well, I should say her boyfriend, asks her to marry him. So that's really cool. But now she goes to this small community where they've had a lot of war-torn situations. So, she doesn't want to flaunt that she just got engaged. She doesn't want to show her ring. She's trying to still kind of lay low a little bit about it. And in the process, I won't go into all the details because of the mystery element, but it's such a cool story because she gets to know this group, which is the book club, and there's, young and old and all these people. And she gets to know them and what's going on in their community little by little. She kind of starts asking questions because she's curious, like, where is Elizabeth, the one you talked about in the letter? How come she's not here? And she's out off the island. And little by little, she's finding out about different things going on with the Germans who had occupied their island and their community during the war. And so she ends up, of course, being a writer and researcher. She ends up going on a journey to find what happened and what's going on. And in that process, she really gets to know the people of the community and especially this book club. And they become like a family in a way. At one point, Juliet asked her boyfriend, now fiance, back home to research some things for them, for the part of the mystery they were looking into. And he was wondering why she was there so long at the island and how come she wasn't coming home. And so he thought, you know what, I'll just use this opportunity to let her know what I found, and I'll also show up at the island. So he did, and he came to the island, and he wanted to bring her home. He wanted to make sure that she, kept their commitment and all of that. And in this process, she was getting to know the guy named Dossie, who is the one who had been writing her, and they had gotten to know each other better in this situation. And so in a way, she started wondering, like, is the life in London that I have now really what I want? She's looking for family. She's looking for belonging. And so those are the things that she was kind of dealing with inside. You could tell it was kind of a journey for her. There was a moment where I was kind of like, oh, I don't really understand how the Dossie originally got her book with her address in it, but then when I watched the film again, I was like, oh, okay. There were a couple little things they mentioned in the letters that they wrote, and you could hear the voiceover of them talking about it or saying the words. And it was like, oh, okay. So she came on some hard times, had to probably sell some belongings she had. Then he ended up finding one of her books in his local bookstore, which was kind of like a thrift shop, it sounded like, or a used bookshop. So that's where he originally found her book. So then he wrote to that letter and they forwarded it to her new address. So anyway, so that was kind of it, but it was interesting because at first I was like, oh wait, I still don't understand what that little connection is, but that's how the writers do it, right? They have to find a way to connect it or it's not going to make sense and it's not going to be understood or even believed. It was a little bit hard for me to believe at first because I missed those little elements. I was like, but I don't understand why she was the one he contacted. You know what I mean? It can take you out of the story. So that's why these little elements of storytelling are important, that you don't want to give things away or make it hard for people to follow. And they didn't. I don't think I was paying attention. Somehow I missed it. But okay, so some of the themes I've already mentioned. Juliet was basically an orphan after her parents passed away, and she went on a journey, and really she found this community. The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society became a family to her, basically. They're people that she could connect with and talk to and laugh with. And because of that, she did find family, belonging. Also, it was about, keeping to your word, and being honest and helping others. So she learned a lot of those kinds of things, and also reaching for what you want, following your heart. That was another element that I noticed. She had to find what she wanted and really follow her heart. Now, there were a few powerful moments, and part of that, I think the things I really noticed all came from the same actress, which is Penelope Wilton. She played Amelia. And I know there were so many other elements and so many parts of the movie that were so good, and I'm sure they were wonderful, but for some reason I kept cluing in on her, the way she portrayed, in this case, Amelia. When Amelia, first met Juliet, when she came to meet them for the first time, Amelia was, very awkward and strange, and just her movements, her body movements, and her line delivery, the way she delivered them, it was amazing. I was like, wow, she really is doing an amazing job. I really believe her, that she is a little uncomfortable, a little awkward, but trying to be hospitable. It was really good, really good. And then also, same thing, Amelia, when she protested at one point about not wanting Juliet to write about the group, she did such an amazing job. And it was subtle but strong, and she didn't yell, but it was like, this is the way I want it, and it was really, really powerful. She had some great lines and delivery for those lines as well. And I don't know, there was one line she said, which there was a question. Someone had asked Amelia, so aren't you going to read this, this manuscript? And she said, I'm not going to let everyone see me cry. I'll read it later. And I don't know why. It was just so amazing to me. So powerful. The dialogue was really amazing. They did an awesome job piecing together the story and bringing in little elements of the past, because they went into some flashbacks, which the flashbacks were very useful. Sometimes flashbacks can be very hard to follow when you're doing a film like this, but it was very helpful, because as she would ask someone a question like, hey, what happened to Elizabeth, or something to that effect, then they would start to explain, and then you would see it acted out in front of you, right? You would see the flashback. So you're like, oh my goodness, I get it. So it was really cool and very well done in those areas as well. Like I said, I really loved the way they used the flashbacks to inform the viewers of what happened before. So it wasn't like they just talked on and on and on. Sometimes you can get caught up doing that in dialogue, but when you can show that the viewers, show what happened, it's so much better. It's a visual medium, so it is important to show more than tell. And so it was just powerful. And this is an example of visual storytelling, how you can use those pieces instead of just words explaining, who this person is or what they did. You can, and you need to use the either a flashback or some kind of montage or something to bring those little images quicker, kind of make it a little condensed, but also they get the whole picture rather than you just explaining it. So it's much better in that way. As you can imagine, there's historical elements involved because, of course, it's set in 1941, and then also the main part of the story was 1946. So right after World War II. And they wove in a beautiful story of hard times, community, friendship, lost love, lost family, mystery, connection, and overcoming obstacles, and connecting with people, family. They did an amazing job in the closing credits because, you only heard voices as the credits were rolling. And the voices, it was each person taking turns reading a book and at the book club, and they were all involved, like the adults, the kids, Juliet, you could hear her, Juliet's publisher, Sydney, was there. So it was super cool. They kind of brought all those little elements together at the end, and it was just their voices, and they were having so much fun. I thought that was a really powerful little moment they added. Now, have you seen the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society movie? Have you read the book? Let us know in the comments. I would really love to see what you thought of it as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more fun. And until next time, happy streaming.